I wonder if there's something else with this. If you happen to be a bigot, if you happen to dislike another tribe, or you've got some grudge and you want to hide behind the respectability, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? And I wonder if Christian nationalism is not saying our nation is better than yours, which some of them plainly is the case. It's bigotry, trying to make itself look more respectable. And what's the soft way to do that? We'll say that you are a Christian. This is our belief. That's antithetical to what Christ taught.
That's the question that you must ask. How did Christ deal with people? How did Christ spend time with people? I'll try and stop using Christ, because Christ is just a title. It's the Greek Christos, which is anointed one, which is what Messiah is in the Hebrew. This man, Jesus, who was not the founder of the Christian faith, by the way, he was a Jewish rabbi. That's a different topic altogether. Obviously, the belief in who Jesus is a different thing. But Jesus did not come to find a religion. He was a follower of Judaism. So you look at this man, Jesus, Yeshua, this rabbinical teacher steeped in the Jewish faith, who knew about what we would call our Old Testament, who knew the laws. There was no New Testament when Jesus was walking around. It was just the Old Testament. So everything in the New Testament wasn't there, didn't exist. And how did he live? Well, he attracted people to him. He was winsome in the way that he spoke to people, in the way that he debated with people. He was gentle in the way that he cared for children. He would have laughed and he would have joked and he would have smiled. How many kids do you see running to somebody who's a grumpy old basket case? You don't. Children look at them and they go, I'm not going anywhere near them. And Jesus had kids that would come and sit around him. Why? Because he would have been light. He talks about his yoke being easy, his burden being light. Everything about him would have been light. He would have been a breath of fresh air, mate, on a stagnant religious day. And he would have breathed something fresh through that world of religiosity. He sat with the tax collectors, the prostitutes, the sinners, the down and outs. You find him in all of the places where you shouldn't be going. That's the God-man that a Christian should be following. And that's the life that that Christian should be emulating. As I read earlier, you walk down that narrow path of life with your arms wide open to embrace as many people as you can while you're on your journey, to show them Jesus, to show them who he is. Christianity is not a political institution. Christianity is a way of life, in terms of you giving up the rights to your life and hand them over so that you become the slave, which is another emotive term used in the New Testament, but completely taken out of cultural context when we read it today. Slave was not about being an African American. It's got nothing to do with race. Being a slave was part and parcel of the way that things were set up in that economy. In fact, in many respects, when you look at the word slave in the New Testament, you would equate that today to an employer-employee relationship in many respects. It could easily be acquainted to that. But when we are talking about a slave to Christ, we're talking about a Greek word, doulos, a bondservant. You sell your rights, you give your rights to your boss, who then has the right to have you, and then has the right to do what he wants to do with you. So we are bondservants of Christ. We hand over the reins of our life to follow his example. What I see in a lot of this Christian nationalism or Christian fundamentalism is you haven't given your life over to hand over to Christ. Because if you were, you wouldn't be living the way that you're living. You wouldn't be conducting yourself in the way you do. You're still driven by self. You're still driven in that soulish area of your life. Your mind, your will, your emotions. That's what you are living in. You're living out your life to follow what you want and to promote what you want and to stand there in judgment of other people. It is not the Christian's call to stand in judgment of people. We do not stand in judgment on Scripture. We sit in humility under Scripture. I don't care what other people want to do. That's down to them. Do I have a view about whether they should do those things? Of course I have a view. What's my view measured against? It's measured against the teachings of Jesus and the book, which is riddled with Jesus from start to finish. So of course I have a measure. Am I going to force that down somebody's throat? No, not at all. But would I discuss that with them? Yeah, of course I would. If they asked me, do I think there's a better way for me to live my life? I'd say, yeah, there is. Is your spirit level that you can stand up straight against? That's a better way to live your life. Is that going to be an easy way? No, it's not. Is it going to be a way which is popular in society? No, it's not. Is it going to make you countercultural? Absolutely. You will be very countercultural. And I think as time goes on, if you actually follow the teachings of Jesus, you're going to become more and more countercultural. the culture that we now live in is becoming more and more authoritarian. So no, I don't see that Christian nationalism is Christian in the sense of being a follower of Jesus. It is Christian in the sense that it contains it in the title, but it certainly doesn't follow Christianity.